All right, my name is Mike Vaughn. I'm here for Geek Vibes Nation, and I am really excited because I am talking to Alan Roberts. He has this amazing collection of horror coloring books, and you have another project coming out. What's the name of that, and where can fans find it?
Another project outside of video horror?
Yeah. Or anything you're allowed to talk about, I should say.
Not for IDW, so I don't know if you want to.
No, yeah, you can. That's okay.
Yeah? It was just announced today that I'm doing the Universal Monsters official coloring book for Inside Editions. So that's been a ton of fun to draw all the iconic scenes with Frankenstein, Dracula, all the classics. Being such a big horror fan myself is a huge honor to draw that. So for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, I was gonna say, like, obviously, dyed-in-the-wool horror fan. Was Universal Monsters kind of like the thing you kind of started on as a fan of the genre?
I definitely, those were the beginning stages for sure, you know. And then Stephen King creeped into my brain, and Stanley Kubrick, and I got all twisted up from The Shining. The Shining's probably my all-time favorite horror movie.
Oh, yes.
And then I went deep down the rabbit hole.
That's awesome.
But it always started with the Universal Monsters, sure.
And that's awesome because I always say, like, I have people that are like parents that are like, no, I'm a big horror freak, so they're like, what's a good like starter? And I'm like, dude, the Universal Monsters, like, that's just like 101 like horror.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many people that have been influenced.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
and even, you know, some of the newer adaptations of the classic movies, like Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula was a huge influence on me growing up as a kid, just from the visual standpoint.
Oh yeah, like that's like one of those movies that I think is just like it's a great story, but it's almost like it's, I don't want to say style over substance, but like, goddamn, that style is like, I'll take it if it's that good.
Like all, you know, Vlad the Impaler, all those battle scenes, and the red armor and stuff. Actually, on tour, in my band Life of Agony, we tour all over the world. We were in Romania this past tour, and we had a day off, and we went to Transylvania, and we went to Dracula's castle.
Oh,
so that
is awesome.
And I had already started drawing the Universal Monsters book, so I got re-inspired to really knock it out of the park. You know?
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, I was gonna like pivot over to like, you know, how did you get started with the coloring books? Like, just having that kind of visual eye, I guess, really helps sort of like craft some of those really awesome like pages that like I've definitely spent hours coloring your stuff. So
cool. Definitely tag me in your posts. I started actually drawing and writing graphic novels for IDW back in 2009, and we put out a bunch of books together: Wire Hangers, Crawl to Me, Kilogy, and just it was a funny story actually. I came home from band rehearsal one day, and my wife and daughter were coloring in Johanna Basford's beautiful underwater coloring book. I forget the name, what it's called, but she did Enchanted Forest, and I think it was called Lost Ocean, the Lost Ocean book. And they invited me to color with them, and I couldn't find anything as a horror fan that I wanted to color.
Yeah.
So my wife was like, you should draw your own page. And I was thinking, what's the most like disgusting page I could think of to draw? And the first thing that popped into my mind wasn't really horror, but just as gross, CBGB's bathroom. If you've ever been to the punk rock club, CBGB's, it's closed now, but that's a place that we used to play, the Ramones, Cro-Mags, all these bands. The bathroom is legendary for being disgusting. And I drew that, and it just happened to be April Fool's Day, and I posted it up. Here's my version of an adult coloring book. And it got downloaded and colored over 400 times.
Nice.
And I was like, maybe there's something here, you know? And it was like, well, if I was going to do a coloring book, what would it be filled with? And of course it would be horror. And they really, at that time, it was 2016, and there wasn't any horror adult coloring books like a Johanna Basfer, beautifully done, printed on nice paper book. And I pitched IDW on April Fool's Day 2016, and they greenlit the project in like 20 minutes.
Nice.
And which usually takes like a week. And I was like, "It's an April Fool's Day? Are they fucking with me? Like, what's happening here?" And they were like, "No, we wanted to get into the coloring book scene, and this is a great way to do it." And as soon as it came out, it exploded out of the gate.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like when I got this opportunity, I was like, I do a lot of research, and I do because I've always been like a big fan of the coloring books and stuff. But like, you were really ahead of the curve, really, because like the sort of trend of adult coloring books didn't really take off till what, maybe like, maybe a little bit pre-pandemic, but like.
Well, yeah, the pandemic, believe it or not, like people were stuck home. They were looking for something to do. They were looking to do something that didn't involve their phone or computer, just something to unplug and unwind from all the madness on the TV, right? And it really helped launch the media horror even more because it gave people a lot of calmness.
Yeah.
To draw all this scary stuff. So it's been a pleasure, a real pleasure to draw and be allowed to have the creative freedom to just expand the world endlessly. And a lot of the later books, like books 4, 5, and 6, have all been parody books in a way, parodies of the classic monster scenes, parodies of dead celebrities, and even famous artwork, just horror versions of famous artwork. So the new book that we're working on that's not announced yet is in that realm, but even more up my alley, being from the music background.
Nice. And I think it's something so interesting, and this is something you kind of touched upon, but like, I always thought, and I'm sure, you probably feel the same, that like horror is like, it is calming, right? Like it's that like release, it's that like you build up, and it's like, God damn it, you have that like release of that tension. And I feel like it tracks that's what coloring books do. So I mean, it's kind of like the perfect.
Yeah, and it calms anxiety, and it's been proven to really help people deal with whatever they're going through. And in the music genre too, Life of Agony has done that for a lot of people through our lyrics. So it's kind of like a common thread even through the art. It's really helping people, which makes me feel great.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Like, now, and I can edit this if I need to because it's not live. Is there any more you can talk about the Universal thing? I know it's sort of like maybe a little bit more hush-hush, but like, was there like a favorite sort of like page that you did, or like one that was just like, holy shit, like this is a dream project? I'm sure the whole thing was, but like one in particular that like really was like, fuck yeah, this is awesome,
Well, with the Universal Monsters book, it was definitely a feeling of, as being a super fan of that world, when Universal Monsters executives come back and greenlight, half the pages of the book that I've submitted for them to critique, and they're like, no, nailed it, out of the park.
Oh man,
so because I really paid attention to details, and I know the film so well. That was like a major like win for me, just as a creative, and probably my favorite spread of the book is there's one shot of the creature from the Black Lagoon coming up onto a dock, and I drew every scale on it.
Nice.
And it was just like it was a dream job. It was, and we're doing some more really cool pop culture stuff together.
That's amazing. Now, I'm kind of curious, like with that particular project, like, was there like, okay, you like took, a freeze frame and then did it, or was it just from memory, or like, as far as like the Universal?
Well, I have really good friends at NECA Toys.
Nice.
And NECA Toys and Randy Falk, we go back a long time. Randy is a big metalhead, and
Yes.
and we run into each other at a lot of Pantera concerts and things. They make the best monster toys. And they actually did a Ghouliana doll action figure for Beauty of Horror.
Oh, nice.
With glow-in-the-dark eyes, and that's out. It came out last Comic-Con. And they included it in the Toonie Terror line of toys. And so she came out with the They Live guy, the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Nice. It was all like, that was a Series 7 set. So that was a big honor for her to be included with those iconic characters. But going back to NECA makes the best Universal Monsters action figures. And so I went right to the NECA warehouse and he gave me all of them to use as references.
Oh, nice.
So I could pose them however I want, take pictures of them, set them up, with dioramas to use as reference. And it really, because I really wanted to do something new, like different perspectives of iconic scenes.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that kind of was like my follow-up is like, if it was going to be like from a slightly different vantage point than the movie, which I think is so interesting. Like it's cool enough just to like take a frame and like be able to color that, but like adding your own perspective.
And also thinking of it from a coloring book standpoint, what would be fun to color? Like not every freeze frame in a film is ready to go.
Yeah.
So like one comes to mind is from Bride of Frankenstein, where the Frankenstein monster is tied up in the forest by an angry mob of villagers, and they're trying to burn him. And I created a double-page spread looking as if you were in the crowd of angry villagers.
Oh, from that perspective.
Yeah, so you see the backs of their heads, you see the torches and pitchforks, and he's there kind of on one page tied up to the stake. So like things like that, to take a scene but then interpret it in a way that would be an interesting coloring piece.
That's so awesome. Now, Universal definitely has a lot of, outside of the classic monsters, is there any like other Universal IPs that you would like love to do sometime? Which after this, I'm sure that will be a huge hit. I'm already putting it out there. So is there any other like IPs from them that you would be interested?
I mean, pretty much everything that they do is what I grew up on. And they've come out with some interesting things like tarot decks too. And I did a tarot deck for IDW for Beauty of Horror a couple of years back. We actually did a black and white set that you can color each card, and then we put it out fully colored. And then just this year, we came out with the artwork inside a book in a large form.
Yes.
So that's been a great thing. And I actually never did a tarot reading until my deck came out. And that was a lot of fun, and it was very revealing because we did the reading on camera.
Okay.
And so my question was if I should draw a certain project or not moving forward, and the card said no.
Oh shit!
And I didn't do that project.
Okay.
And probably for the best, but
see, yeah. I'm like, we're both probably very morbid. I probably would be like, am I gonna die sometime soon? I don't know if I'd want to know that.
That's one thing I learned a lot about tarot in general from drawing the book, because the death card.
It's like about change.
Yeah, it's really not a scary card at all. It's really about metamorphosis, and depending on which way it falls. But it doesn't mean that you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like you would think. But I also didn't realize that there were different suits. I always looked at the beautiful artwork and the names and everything like that, but I didn't realize that it's much like a regular playing card deck, just with different iconography. And when I did the designs, I was very careful to include all the imagery that you would need to do a proper reading. You know,
Nice.
I've seen a lot of decks out there that they'll just slap a character on it, and then call it a day. But they're very intricate. I'll show you some. I don't know. Knight of
Nice.
Wands.
Wow.
Yeah, have you seen this one?
Yeah, actually, I just ordered it. It's probably in my package hub waiting for me. But
I'll show you my favorite card. The Tower.
Oh, nice.
I think it took me a week to draw all those bricks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's such amazing detail, and that's like kind of what like I know your work for. It's clean, it's detailed, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, you can tell like someone that genuinely loves the horror genre and just like, you know, beautiful, morbid things. I love that sort of push and pull between like the morbid and the, you know, disgusting and then the beautiful, because I feel like kind of like an Argento film, they all kind of collide, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I almost had to retrain myself to draw the beauty of horror in general, because if you notice, there's no, besides this book, the rest of the series is all single line. So there's no shadows, there's no cross hatching, there's no tricks to create depth. You have to create depth with the shapes themselves. So everything's just a single line weight.
Nice.
And I think that really lends itself to coloring, because it gives the colors an opportunity to outline certain sections, make them more impactful, or completely white them out. I've seen that as well.
Nice.
Just the other day, someone had colored one of the pages where it's a close-up of a woman's mouth and there's a giant tarantula in it. And she was like, I just don't like spiders. And she
Just exit out.
She whited out the whole spider and just made it a screen.
Yeah.
And it was great. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it must be really fun just seeing people's art, to see how they, like that perfect example of like how they recontextualize, you know, something that you created, and you're like, wow, I didn't even really think about
Absolutely.
it.
And you know what? From the very first book, seeing people post their colored work on Instagram and Facebook inspired me to keep drawing the series, because I saw what people, they took it to a whole different level. Like, because I'm not a colorist.
Yeah.
I do color my pages when I do a graphic novel, but I prefer not to. I prefer to work in black and white. So the non-colorist in me can really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And they do it in all kinds of mediums. You could have one page done by 10 different people, and you'd have 10 different outcomes.
Yeah.
Because they work in watercolor, markers, sometimes nail polish, you know. There's glitter and glue, and sometimes they add wood to them. It's like really,
Oh, wow.
really
Right.
inventive.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing when, you know, you can get, like, you have this creativity and it just, like, feeds off of other people's and they get inspired to...
It really is like an unfinished art project.
Okay,
It
yeah.
really is, because there's a give and take, and I'm very interactive with the fans online, and they tag me in the artwork, and I get to respond and see all the stuff. And so it really is a give and take, and that's why, like, as the series evolves, it's just a never-ending art project. It's just
That's
really
awesome.
cool.
Now, piggybacking off of that, the feedback you've received from fans, has that like anyway altered kind of like the direction in your books, or you're like, okay, they don't like this, but maybe add more of this or something? Like, do you like?
I haven't heard many negative complaints about them. But in general, I think once I started doing the parodies, that seemed to really be a hit with fans.
Okay.
Because there is a lot of humor, even in the first book. I think the humor level increased throughout the series just because I'm having so much fun with it. And I think that adding humor to the horror is some of the best things that I love about the horror movies that I grew up with, besides The Shining, although I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But like Evil Dead 2, the comedy level in movies like that, Chainsaw Massacre 2, I find hilarious. So I try and interject that kind of sensibility into the pages too.
Nice. It's funny, The Shining, I saw that for the first time on the big screen at Draft House. It's fucking awesome. Like, where are you based? Are you based in?
I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, you guys like. I was like, you have a Draft House in Brooklyn?
Yeah,
or?
I think there is one in like Park Slope.
Yeah.
I want to say.
But yeah, it's also funny. My sister's staying in London, and the place we're staying at has the carpet in The Shining, like
the pattern.
Yeah, she's like, I know you'll love this. So it's funny because like my niece, like I got her on your coloring books, and that was sort of her gateway into really enjoying horror, and it being okay to be a little bit odd, and like. To that end, have you heard some really cool stories from like people that were like, your book really resonated with me, or like
all the time,
nice.
The time, especially through the pandemic. I think that people had really dove into the series during the pandemic, and it really helped a lot of people kind of just like turn off all the awfulness that we were dealing with that year,
Yeah.
And you know what? It helped me too because it kept me busy.
Yeah.
But the band was not touring for 2 years, and so I was home drawing every day, feeling like I had a purpose, really helped me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I kind of developed something too. So I'm an artist, but I'm not like a professional by any means. But like, it's just a great way to, like I'm sure you get, like to really express all this shit that's going on, and it's so amazing that you can turn that into something cathartic for people, like fans and everything.
I was just gonna say, it's definitely a cathartic experience, drawing it, and then also seeing people enjoy it and get creative. It's really amazing.
Absolutely.
And much different than creating graphic novels, which I also have that experience. So creating a graphic novel, there's like 8 months in your room alone, and then it comes out one day and you meet people at a Comic-Con, and that's where you get your interaction. But with the coloring books, I think it's a daily experience that continues to happen because people are constantly posting their artwork.
That's great. Now, like, how from start to finish, like, how long does it take you to do one of your coloring books?
I would say 3 months.
Oh wow! All right.
Yeah, but that's really burning the midnight oil.
Okay.
I don't sleep many hours.
Yeah. Well, I feel like artists shouldn't sleep. We should just be like tired and ugly, and I mean, speaking just for me, that is. So
I know I can only speak for myself, but when I'm in the zone, it's almost don't bother me, because that's when the best work happens. And when I have to like really sit down and I need to figure this page out, you don't want that vibe.
Yeah.
You have to be in it like from the beginning.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of like The Shining when he's like writing his nonsense and Wendy's kind of pested him. Like I know that's awful, but I'm also like, part of me relates to that. Part of me is like, well, when I'm trying to do something, like I wouldn't, like my husband, I wouldn't snap at him, but like it's that inner kind of like Jack Torrance that comes out.
All work and no play.
So I see you got us. Oh my god, I almost said The Shining Exorcist shirt on. That's rad. Have you seen the new one? I have not. Yeah, I kind of don't want to.
I saw some bad reviews.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'll wrap up. I know you want to get to dinner, but so the new book is out now, let's see that bad boy. Beauty of Horror Tarot Card Edition. That's amazing. Again, like I ordered mine, but it got delayed because I was like, damn, I wanted to like get it and like have it in time for this, but it's waiting for me. I'm excited. I will tag you in some stuff.
Definitely do.
And speaking of that, where can fans find you? Like, what are your socials?
Well, everything that I do is all at alanrobert.com with legs out to all my stuff, you know.
All right, awesome.
Books, music, figures, all that stuff.
All right, amazing.